You know what drives me crazy? When founders say, we can't compete with big tech, they have too much money. Big tech does have a lot of money. Microsoft just announced they're investing $80 billion in AI-enabled data centers in 2025. That is more money than most countries spend on their entire military. But here's the thing, you don't need billions to win. In fact, I'm going to show you 2 things that can help you beat big tech. I'm the founder of Vivino, the world's largest wine app with over 70 million users all over the world. We beat giants like Amazon in wine, and today I'm going to show you how to do it. Some startups try and beat big tech by raising more money and hiring more engineers. That's not how you do it. That's a battle you're not going to win. We'll look at 2 critical strategies that have nothing to do with raising more money, and they'll work every time. But first, let me tell you about another David and Goliath battle that's happening right now. We're going a little bit outside startups, but bear with me. Russia's military budget for 2025 is $145 billion. That's 30% higher than last year. Let's have a look at everything they have to do with that money. Maintain one of the world's largest nuclear arsenals? Very expensive. Operate a massive navy across multiple oceans? Very expensive. Defend the largest country in the world by landmass? Also, do a brutal full-scale invasion on a neighboring country. The list is endless. They're spreading their $145 billion into a lot of different places. Now let's look at Ukraine. Their military budget just $53.7 billion, about a third of Russia's budget. But here's where it gets interesting. Ukraine has one job: defend their territory against Russia. That's it. They don't have nuclear weapons. They don't have a massive navy. There's no space program. They have one single focus: stop Russia. And guess what? Their focused approach is working. This is exactly what startups need to do when they're competing with big tech. Strategy number 1, focus. Focus is everything. Let me give you another example that's a little bit closer to home. Say you want to build a product compete with Microsoft Word. Sounds crazy, but could you? Microsoft has hundreds of engineers just working on Word. There's no way a few nerds in a basement can compete with that, or can they? Maybe there is. Let me explain. For Word, Microsoft has to support Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, web browsers, Microsoft 365. Plus, they packed it with so many features that most people don't know exist. They're trying to make everyone happy, from novelists to students and maybe business analysts. As a startup, you need to build for one platform and a very, very specific audience. Maybe it's academic writers or marketers, one platform, one specific audience, and only the features that this audience needs. You break that down, and suddenly it's possible to compete with Microsoft, even though they have hundreds of engineers on this. If you focus all your attention on a small product for a small audience, then your product will be better for that audience than anything big tech can offer. Later you can expand that, but win this first. But focus alone is not enough. The second strategy is also important. Strategy number 2, courage. Big tech has a massive weakness. They are terrified of risk. They usually make a lot of money, and they're terrified that any change will risk all that money. Let me give you a recent example. Google spent years on developing their AI capabilities. They had the best product, better technology, and more resources than anyone else. But they were so worried about cannibalizing their search product, so concerned about the reputation and their profit machine, they kept delaying their release. It's a typical Google story. Big presentations with no courage and no releases. Meanwhile, OpenAI, a much smaller company, launched ChatGPT. Was it perfect? Hell no, but they had the courage to release it anyway. And now, they're probably the leader in consumer AI. Sure, they have a lot of research now, but 5 years ago, they were an actual startup. And they caught up with Google because they had the courage to do so. Here's the truth about risk. The riskiest thing you can do as a startup is play it safe. Tesla did the same thing with electric cars. Instead of playing it safe with cheap electric vehicles, they went straight for luxury cars, competing directly with BMW and Mercedes. Everyone thought they were crazy. Now they're the most valuable car company in the world. We'll see how that goes from here, but still drives my point home now. Let's try and compare big tech with startups. Big tech has billions in funding, huge teams, massive infrastructure. But they also have slow decision-making, lack of focus, fear of losing profit and reputation, internal politics and bureaucracy. Startups have limited funds, small teams, and a basic infrastructure. But the startup advantage is fast decision-making, nothing to lose, and total focus. So what's next? Here's exactly what you need to beat big tech and stand out in a crowded market. Pick one thing that matters most to your users and put 100% of your resources into that one thing. Make bold decisions where big tech is playing it safe. When we launched Vivino, our app was so basic that Apple initially rejected it from the App Store. They said it didn't have enough features, but we knew that one feature, scanning a bottle of wine, was all we needed, and that turned out to be right. You might be concerned that you're putting all your resources into one market that is too small, and there aren't enough customers for such a focused product. And maybe that's true, but it's okay. You can expand it later. Win this battle first, and then you move to the next one. It's always a good idea to think about how you can expand and scale later, but it doesn't mean you have to do it right now. So find that one thing you can build for a very specific audience, forget everything else, and become the very best best at that one thing. Remember, you don't need billions to win. You just need focus and courage. Thank you, Fortune Raw Startup. Now stop watching and go build something, even in a crowded market.